University of Toronto psychology professor Jordan Peterson has a fight on his hands.
In the past 2 years, the Canadian psychologist and academic has been adopted as a hero of the Donald Trump-loving alt-right.
This is what I'm saying to you. Why the rage, bruh? You're doing well, but you're a mean, mad white man.
It shows that this guy has an agenda.
I was Jordan Peterson's strongest supporter. Now, I think he's dangerous.
I mean, he thinks the world is going to come to an end and he is going to save us. Jordan is a self-styled martyr and a self-styled savior.
I've been talking a lot to the crowds that I've been talking to, not about rights, but about responsibility, right? Because you can't have the bloody what are you doing? You can't have the conversation about rights without the conversation about responsibility, because your rights are my responsibility. That's what they are, technically. Well, what are you leaving out if you're leaving out responsibility? And the answer might be, well, maybe you're leaving out the meaning of life. That's what it looks like to me. It's like, here you are, suffering away. What makes it worthwhile? Rights? You know, you're completely out, you have no idea what it's almost impossible to describe how bad an idea that is. Responsibility. That's what gives life meaning. It's like lift a load. Then you can tolerate yourself, right? Because look, you're useless, easily hurt, easily killed. Why should you have any self-respect?
What you're saying, it just sounds a bit grim, doesn't it?
No.
No?
No, it sounds a lot grim. It's not a bit grim.
So
it's as grim as it gets. It's like, so you tell young people, and this is another message for conservatives, like, I don't care what you're going to do, but go out there and make something of yourself for God's sake. Be an honest person and work and get to the top of whatever it is that you want to get to the top of. You know, and stand up for yourself like a respectable human being and be a bit of a light on the world instead of a blight. You know? And you can tell young people that, and they haven't been told that by anyone now. And so the young men are so hungry for that it's painful to watch. They're so relieved when someone finally comes up and says, hey, you know, you get your act together a bit, discipline yourself, see if you can learn to tell the truth, concentrate on something for a year or two, you could be a bloody world beater. They think, really? That's possible? Wow, that would be interesting. That might make life worth living. It's like, yeah, it might. So why don't you go do it? That's what the damn universities were supposed to be teaching people, and they've forgotten that. I went to Harvard a month and a half. I used to teach there, and I talked to a bunch of students, you know, and I told them, it's not easy to get into Harvard, you know. Like, you're a valedictorian if you're at Harvard. And so why am I saying that? It's like, these are high-quality kids. So I told them what I just told you. It's like, here you are at Harvard. It's like, get yourself educated, man. Read some books, learn to talk, learn to think, make yourself into something. Get the hell out there and make the world that put you here happy that you were put there in that great institution. You know, and they came up to me afterwards and said, God, I wish someone would have told us that when we were in our first year. It's like, Jesus, why didn't someone tell them that? For God's sake, it's supposed to be the greatest university in the world. Is it so difficult to figure that out? Well, it is, if that isn't what you want to have happen in the university. You want to make cringing milksops who whine about being victims while they're going to Ivy League institutions. Jesus, it's pathetic. So one kid, for example, he was in his early 20s, I would say. He came up to me and he said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but a year and a half ago, I just got out of jail and I was homeless. I started watching your lectures. He said, I'm married, I have a daughter, and I just bought my first apartment. It's like, good work. And I was in LA, and I was outside the Orpheum Theater. It's kind of rough in downtown LA, and I was walking down the street with my wife, and this car pulled up beside us, and this kid hopped out, Latino kid, about 19 or so, and he said, are you Dr. Peterson? I said, yes. He said, oh, I'm really happy to meet you. And he shook my hand, he said, and I've been watching your lectures, and just wait a minute. And I said, okay. And then he ran back to his car, and he got his dad out, and they came over, and he had his arm, they had their arms around each other. And they're just smiling away, you know, like with a real Duchenne smile, a real smile. And he said, been watching your lectures, and I've really been working on putting my relationship with my father together, and it's really worked.
So how do you want to be remembered years from now when the world looks back on what we're witnessing right now? What should people say about Jordan Peterson?
That he wanted the best for people, not the worst. And the reason I want the best, I think, is because I know a fair bit about what the worst is like. And I definitely don't want that. And that's a conscious decision to turn away from that. It's like, enough hell. That's the lesson of the 20th century. And so it means that we take responsibility for that. And we put the world together, and we start with ourselves. And so all these people line up, and you know, they have their 15 seconds with me, and they're kind of tentative. They're excited and attentive when they come up to talk to me, and then they have, you know, 15 seconds of time to tell me something. I'm really listening to them, and they're hesitant about whether or not to share the good news about their life, you know. And I think it's often because when people share good news about their life, people don't necessarily respond positively. You know, they don't get encouragement. And people need so little encouragement. It's just unbelievable. And so they'll tell me something good, and I think, oh, that's so good. You know, if somebody says, oh, I'm getting along way better with my father. I hadn't seen him for 10 years, and now we get along. It's like, God, great.